this week from, I believe it was from Zillow, that talks about what you can do to prepare for owning a home. And there's a lot of tactics in here that aren't necessarily just for renters. Maybe for people that own a home but they're going to buy again and they haven't bought in a long time. So if even if you're not a renter, if you're buying your first home, or if you're someone who currently owns a home and you're moving up, there's some advice in here that can take into consideration. Understanding the full cost of home ownership. This one I think is huge. HOA fees, homeowners insurance, property taxes, principal, interest, taxes, insurance. Knowing that whole payment, but also not just knowing the whole payment, but I think being prepared. For some of the curveballs that can happen with that payment, like property taxes going up or a homeowner's insurance may rise.
Maintenance is a big thing.
Maintenance is a big thing too. HOA dues, get often overlooked. Because here's what happens. A lot of buyers, and we have this happen all the time, and it doesn't matter if you're an experienced home buyer or not, you click into some bait online, right? You go onto a website, and it's an online mortgage lender or a pay-per-click ad, and you're getting mortgage quotes. And you go on and you say a $300,000 house is only a $900, whatever, not necessarily $900, but whatever $100 payment, and they get jacked up and they think, I can afford that. I can buy a $300,000 house. But the reality is the bank is only quoting the fees for their side of the payment.
Right.
They're not factoring in taxes, insurance,
these
HOA fees.
These websites, to be honest, are very, very good with looking at pictures and stuff. As far as having up-to-date data, no, they're behind the scenes, and also with estimating payments, yes, they do a very poor job.
And consumers will come in, whether they're an experienced home buyer or not, and think the site, because it's a site with a lot of people on it, and it has a lot of traffic, that payment is going to be in line for their market. That's a generic payment across the whole country based on a loan amount. That doesn't mean, in our area, if you've got flood insurance, HOA fees, higher property taxes, and non-homesteaded property, there's so many things that go on, which is why you need to talk to a local mortgage pro and a local agent that can give you all the information so you can know the true scope of payment instead of just going off some online calculator that's wrong most of the time.
So let's talk about property taxes real quick, because actually we just closed. Actually, one of your agents closed a loan with us this week. And normally, how the taxes goes, you're going to assume the current owner's tax bill, and whether that's homestead or not, then you can we can kind of estimate what your tax bill next year is going to be when you add the homestead, or possibly take it off if you're not buying a primary residence. This guy was buying, and his tax bill is actually going to increase quite a bit next year. So we had that conversation. Is this still going to be something that you're comfortable with? Because he was buying a home that has a widow exemption on it, and they've lived in the home for God knows how long, 40 years or something, and so their tax bill is extremely low. So it's one of those things that if you're not getting that information from your lender or whomever, that's something that can definitely catch you next year. But if you're talking to somebody reputable and they're talking about what the tax bill is going to be next year, that's very, very important, because that can change quite a bit.
Correct, and prepare your budget for the curveballs that happen in home ownership, like HOA fees going up, like property taxes going up. So if you think your payment, you signed a 30-year mortgage, and you think your payment's going to be that same number for 30 years, you're probably wrong.
And just remember that, especially if you're relocating here from another area, the Midwest or someplace like that, homeowners insurance is a totally different ballgame here in Florida, and
Correct.
It's substantially more expensive.
Correct,
than
because we have the
what you're used to.
hurricanes and all the different issues. And the other issues, knowing your homeowner tax benefits. So, mortgage interest and property taxes are deductible when you file your income tax returns for a lot of people, and can reduce your taxable income. So you may look at a payment and think, this payment's much higher than my rent. But, do some analysis, talk to a CPA, talk to an accountant to make sure, because, again, a lot of the financial benefits where you'll save money on your taxes, in reality, reduce your total housing costs that you don't get, as a renter. Study rent versus buy math. There's a lot of websites out there. And also don't forget to factor in, potential appreciation or potential depreciation, because guess what? It will come back around again. So, when you're looking at the benefits, don't forget about the possibility of value, the value change in the property, and the positive benefit to you for that. Identifying mortgages that fit your budget and timeline. I think, again, and Dave, you can talk about this a little bit, but sometimes people will get themselves in an ARM that's more shorter term than they would have needed. So they've got to really have an expectation or a belief system on what their family's going to look like in a few years. Do they plan to get married? Are they with a significant other? Do they have kids? Are they going to have more kids? and then measure out kind of what loan product from there, and whether or not they use an ARM.
Yeah, an ARM, I mean, you know, there's a bevy of loan options that anybody can get into, and before you have really decided, I think, you know, it should be a pretty lengthy conversation about what your short-term and long-term goals are going to be. And, you know, ARMs, you know, it's for a different type of consumer. I mean, I think it's more for the savvy investor that definitely has a plan. They've done this before. I'm not too keen on putting first-time home buyers in ARMs. Unless we have a, you know, very long conversation about exactly what's, you know, what could happen and what's the likelihood of that going to happen. But yeah, there's a lot of different scenarios that can play out. You know, there are longer term ARMs as well. An ARM being an adjustable rate mortgage where the rate can possibly change. You know, short term, I don't see the benefit in today's market just because rates are so low otherwise. But there can be some benefit in, like, say, a 7-year ARM or 10-year ARM, which means that initial rate is fixed for 7 years or 10 years, and could have some advantages. But right now, 30-year fixes are so low as it is, it's probably the move.
Another thing you need to think about if you're buying, you know, start prepping your credit score now. Know what your score is. Talk to a lender now to make sure your score is good enough for a great loan product, or good enough even to qualify. And then secondarily, what are some things you could do to maybe bump your score, you know, into a higher range to save more on the rate, or get you into a different type of program?
It's the number one thing you should do. Everybody needs to focus on their credit scores. No matter if you're buying a house, you're buying a car, you're buying, you know, whatever. It's going to have a significant impact on your finances depending on what your credit score is.
And there is an amazing algorithm that determines your credit score. If you're talking to your buddy, your friend, your sibling, your parents, your grandfather, your uncle's brother's cousin's, you know, friend about credit scores, unless they're like a subject matter expert,
Right.
they're probably not giving you the best possible advice. Talk to someone that deals with the credit stuff every single day. I know you guys do. I know you can
Yep.
give great advice, but you'll have people say, oh, go out and get a bunch of accounts because you need more accounts. You don't have credit. And then you apply right after that. You got to have the accounts open a certain period of time for it to help without hurting, without having too many inquiries on your account, so that then you look like you're a bad risk because you're looking like you're going to go get a bunch of credit and default on it. So there's a lot of factors that go in, and there's really not a simple answer. Your credit score is unique to you, just like your DNA. The advice that you're going to be given to get your score up and into a different place is going to be different. It's different for every single person.
Yeah, there are also some advice, you know, mongers out there that tell you to pay off certain things, and it kind of defies logic. It really doesn't make a whole lot of logical sense, but I can just tell you that before you go and do anything crazy like paying off maybe bad debt or anything like that, if we're talking about something that you want to accomplish in the short term, let's look at that before you do it, because that could actually tank your score more than it actually helps it.
Correct. Yeah, and again, every person's score is going to be a little bit different. And what you may need, you could need a referral to a credit repair company. You could need you know, a whole variety of different things. You could need a whole year of doing stuff to your credit, and you can't qualify right now. So there's just a lot of